Yes, people, welcome back to Never a Foul. Another video. Make sure you like, subscribe. Man City, Rodri, the news. Everyone's waiting. How long will he be out for? Is it going to be months? Is it going to be a month? Or could it be quicker? I'm going to be looking at what that does for Man City. Do I think they overcome this potential big scare? And what we also saw in the game against Arsenal on the weekend. And I think that's where we'll start. Because that injury, let's just put it out there. We all know that Rodri is one of the best midfielders in the world, if not probably the best central midfielder overall in the world as things stand. You know, won the Euros as well, won multiple Premier Leagues, won the Champions League, scored the winner in that, and he's been consistent, very, very, very consistent, right? And if you were to ask a football fan, if you were to ask a Man City fan, two players that they do not want to see injured, one would be Rodri and the other would be Erling Haaland. It's simple as that. They are the catalysts for Man City. They're the ones that make the machines in the factory run smoothly. Rodri orchestrating the passes, big goals, big moments, and now a leader. And you've got Haaland, who's going to guarantee you 25, 30 in the league minimum per season. As you've seen, he's already on 10 in the first 5 games, which is astonishing already. And he's looking like he's going to clear 30. But it was so interesting because that injury before the red card of Leandro Trossard probably would have given Arsenal a lot of confidence in terms of, okay, yeah, we're 1-0 down. Rodri's gone off. You get the equaliser and you think, okay, like let's go from there. Now we're really in the game. But for me, I think the interesting takeaway from the game was with Man City and the transfer window, we've always said, they're missing that Gundogan, someone that can play number 6, someone that can play number 8, someone that can do a bit of everything, because we know that De Bruyne is naturally getting older. Phil Foden was naturally coming into the middle, but he's had a slow start to the season. So it's like, okay, really, what's going to happen from there? So with that injury, I was like, okay, now we're going to see De Bruyne obviously not in the pitch. It's going to be Gundogan. It's going to be Kovacic who was coming on. And I'm going to be honest. I don't know if tactically Pep got things right in that game. I think, with Kovacic playing in the 6, we know he can play there. He's good on the half turn. He can beat the press over 6 yards. He's got that pace to get past the man and then give it. And you've got Gundogan, who is one of them players that he pops up in the right places in the right moments. But I look at it, and if Rodri is out, I don't know if Gundogan has to be the player that goes into the 6 instead of Kovacic. I feel like Kovacic is a very good, ball carrier, like I just mentioned, and he's got the athleticism. But in terms of the control, I felt like Man City lost it against Arsenal when Rodri went off the pitch. Now, that's credit to Arsenal. I think they grew into the game. They started, getting a lot more set pieces. They started finding a few gaps in between the lines. But in the first 20 minutes, I thought City were quick out the traps. Arsenal couldn't really get out. Rodri was just orchestrating the play. He's aura as well on the pitch. I feel like that's one thing with Rodri that's sort of grown over the last couple of years. I've always felt like Rodri's a very good player. He's good on the ball, don't get me wrong. But now when I feel like he's on the pitch, I'm like, he's there. He's 6 foot plus. He's physical. He's really become a bit more robust. He just looks like that leader, the alpha male. The other teams are like, shit, they've got Rodri, excuse my French, but they've got Rodri now. Like, he's on the pitch. We've got to watch him. And it kind of gives that freedom to other players because now Rodri's now popping up with goals. He's good in the air. He is orchestrating the play. He has become that sort of rounded central midfielder rather than I'm just going to sit here and hold. But he does it all. He controls the game for Man City and he's the tempo setter. And I just felt like they lost a bit of that in that first half when he went off. And I'm not going to try and say to Man City fans that you should be worried or you need to, go back in the transfer window for someone. But I think, you're playing Arsenal, who are your highest opposition. They are a very good team. I just felt like it was missing something, though, with Man City. I thought when Rodri went off, there was just something that was not quite right. And look, the first half was 11-11 because Trossard got sent off at the end of the half. And that's where you can really judge the game when, there's 11 on the pitch. Man City are playing their way. Arsenal are playing their way, still on the counter, trying to still attack and still try and get goals. But I just felt the game became more even. It was one of them ones where big up Rom, Roms came down to see me, if you know him, he's a Liverpool fan. And we were sat there at half time, just before half time, and saying, we think Arsenal can go on and win this. Like, it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like Man City were comfortable. They looked a bit rattled. They looked a bit shaken. And that is because Rodri went off and he's a big part of that team now. And now look, They got Gundogan on a free. Brilliant transfer, never going to question it. But Gundogan of 4 years ago is not the Gundogan of today. And Kovacic of 4 years ago is maybe still the Kovacic partly of today, but he doesn't have that control of games. So it's like, right, are Man City going to struggle? That's ultimately what I looked at from that. I was like, okay, Man City going to struggle. And there's two ways of looking at it. They've played Arsenal. When you say, no, look, it's Arsenal. They're a very good team. They're robust. They defend well. So Man City are not going to play teams like that. When they play other teams, they're going to have the quality of Haaland, Foden, and stuff like that to get them through games. So maybe it's time now. Phil Foden, it's your time to come back into this team and wake up. Not wake up, because I know that you've had a very good last season, but you've had a slow burn into this year. You've had a few knocks, or you've had the flu and stuff like that. But maybe this is the time that Manchester City need you, because if it's me, Kovacic, Gundogan, Phil Foden, while De Bruyne might be out, unleash Phil Foden, because if you're going to lose something in Rodri, gain something in that creativity, put Gundogan back in there with Kovacic and have a little bit of that control more, and allow Phil Foden to come into the 10 where most people thought he was going to play this season, because he's been brilliant centrally for Man City and linking up with Erling Haaland. This is your time to unleash him now. You look at Manchester City's fixtures, right? And this is going forward. You've got obviously Watford in the Carabao Cup. They win that. It doesn't matter who plays. Newcastle away. 12:30. You're coming up against a midfield which is going to be Tonali, Joe Linton, Bruno Gomares. They're going to be ready. It's going to be a dogfight. It's going to be hard. You're going to need your best players to stand up and be counted. De Bruyne, last year, I think it was, we saw when he came off the bench and he changed the game for them in the second half, because he's got that class. He's got that ability, the world-class moment. Foden can do that. Now, look, forget him in an England shirt. We're talking about Foden in a Manchester City shirt. He could be the guy now that they need to unleash, because Rodri's not going to be back next week. Look, I think Rodri could be out for a month to 3 months. Nothing's confirmed yet. Maybe it will be once this video comes out. But look, we're talking about in hindsight. Foden needs to be unleashed now. He came on against Arsenal with 10, 15 minutes to go. What a waste. What a waste. Because Arsenal were down to 10 men, and you leave Akanji, you leave Ruben Diaz, you leave Gavadia and Walker on to the 75th minute when they're basically camped in their own half, and you're doing tick-attacker at the edge of the box. You've got Ruben Diaz getting the ball on the edge of the box, probably having the most touches in the second half, shooting over the bar, can't create a nice pass or angle because he's a defender. Now, Pep Guardiola, what are you doing? You're one of the greatest managers, but you got it wrong there. 10 men, you bring on Phil Foden. He can do something at the edge of the box. Rodri, Phil Foden, De Bruyne, the guys for Man City that have scored goals from the edge of the box and they ras it top corner. But you have Akanji and Diaz sitting there in the ball on them moments in the second half. Arsenal camped in. You could have won the game if you made them little tweaks, but you didn't. But now it's that time to unleash Phil Foden. That is what I'm looking at from this, because if Rodri is out for, say, 1 to 3 months, do I think that Man City cope? My answer is yes, I do think Man City cope, because the games they have, the opponents they face, they can still control, they can still score enough. Let's just go through their games up until the 23rd of November. And the reason I do that is I'm recording this on the 23rd of September. That's 2 months. So we could be out for a month, it could be out for 3, it could be longer. So let's go with 2 and we go from there. Watford, Newcastle away, Bratislava, Fulham at home, Wolves away, Sparta Prague at home, Southampton at home, Bournemouth away, Sporting Lisbon away. That's the first time I'm like, ooh, Victor Gyökeres, bad boy striker. And then you've got Brighton away and Tottenham at home. Brighton's 9th of November, Tottenham 23rd of November. Now look, on paper, Newcastle next Saturday, or this Saturday, and Sporting Lisbon in the Champions League are their trickiest games. Sporting Lisbon, they should be fine in terms of they'll win other games in the Champions League. They'll still progress. It's not a knockout game. Newcastle, this weekend, atmosphere, 12:30 kickoff, without Rodri against a physical team like Tonali, Joe Linton and stuff. It could get interesting. It could get like honey. It could get sticky. Could get annoying, a bit gooey on the fingers at times. Or Man City could go there and get 2 goals and be 2-0 up comfortable, and you're like, right, okay, they're going to see out the game, and they do what Chelsea done to West Ham on the weekend. But we don't know, because this is football, and Newcastle are going to come out like dogs fighting. But if you look at it for the next 2 months, Man City should be able to cope without Rodri, because when you look at them games, they're all winnable. They are all winnable. But imagine they had the Tottenhams or, Chelsea again already, a Liverpool, an Arsenal coming up even next week, you know, a PSG or Bayern in a Champions League, and they had like a run that you're like, okay, it's tricky. You might be thinking, okay, is Gundogan going to be able to step up? Is Kovacic going to be able to step up, even though he has injury problems as well, playing consistently? I feel like the time of the injury for Man City, and look, no one wants to get injured. I don't want to see no player injured, rival or not. The best players I want to see on the pitch. But if there was going to be a time where Rodri got injured, maybe it would just be now for a month or two because the run of games they have. But still, you take out Rodri, you're going to need something. You're going to need an edge. And Phil Foden is that edge. Now, let's get him fully fit. He's cooked last year, player of the season, and get him back. De Bruyne, we all know De Bruyne can do De Bruyne things. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. But this is the chance now to try and flip the mentality and say, okay, Rodri's out. What can we do to compensate that? Get them attacking players on that pitch. Get feeding Haaland. Do it. Because you're playing games now, Pep Guardiola, where you can go out and score goals. So forget that you're not going to have Rodri. Put that master man in their number 10 role. And this is what I think I need to do now if I was a Man City manager. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to find out what happens with the Rodri news, how long he's out for, because I do feel Kovacic and Gundogan, the control did go against Arsenal a little bit, if I'm totally honest. Second half, obviously, they camped in. It was just, 10 v 11, and they couldn't get the breakthrough earlier because Pep got it wrong, like I said, leaving Diaz on the pitch, not bringing on Foden earlier. But you learn from your mistakes, hopefully. And if anyone's going to learn from them, I'm sat here in a chair. Pep's won everything. I'm sure he will. But guys, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. And if Phil Foden is unleashed on the weekend and delivers, you can just say, yeah, Ty called it. Because I did. Catch you soon.